Hey everyone, can you hear me? I mentioned that if we hit 1,000 subscribers, I would go live, whatever that means. So we hit 1,000 subscribers, so we're here live. Uh, Thanks to everyone who subscribed. I didn't start this channel out to uh, do legal advice or anything like that. I started this with my buddy Dave, and you'll see him in some of the videos from last year. And it's a friend of mine from jujitsu who's also a lawyer and a very interesting person. And we would just do commentaries on legal cases like the Alec Baldwin case or the case Daryl Brooks, the guy who ran over all those kids. If you see the videos from last year, you'll see Dave, and Dave is probably one of the most interesting people you'll ever meet. Dave was a convicted felon and decided to get his life together. Went to community college, regular college. Got really good grades. Ended up going to a better law school than I did, and clerked on a federal appellate court, which is one step below the Supreme Court, and worked at one of the top firms in the country. And then, had some emotional issues. His wife left him and ended up in a mental hospital and doesn't work as a lawyer anymore, but is still a fun guy to hang out with. He practices jujitsu every day and does smoke tons of weed. Hey, Bobby McGee. Yes, it's on the channel. It's some of the early episodes. So besides that interesting part of his life, he also recently beat cancer. So hope Dave is watching. And we did this. We were having fun doing those shows, just joking around. And people loved making fun of Dave on the comments because he refused to wear a shirt with sleeves. He would show up in wife beater shirts with a shaved head, and he got so much hate in the comments. And I was, a little jealous. I said, all these hateful comments are for you. Like, no one's attacking me. So we agreed that if there's any comments that weren't, like that guy should put on a shirt, that bald guy's an idiot, I'll take them. So it doesn't bother me in these other videos where people are like, screw you, you're lazy, you're stupid, I'm glad you got fired, blah, blah, blah. Like that doesn't bother me. Have at it. But yeah, so we did that for a while, and then Dave got busy doing other things, and he sort of didn't want to podcast anymore. So I let this die, and then I early retired from the federal government, as I mentioned, and I was looking for something to do with my time. And then I think I did a couple of videos talking about this deferred resignation thing because I felt like it was a trap and people weren't getting the full info. And then it sort of took off from there, and people were asking questions, and I started replying to questions. And as I said, I'm not a employment attorney. I've said this in many parts of other videos, but people have questions, and I have a law degree, ADHD, and an internet connection. And with those three things, I feel like I can find out the answer because I have all the time in the world now. So people have asked questions. I've tried my best to answer in the comments, and if it took too long to put the answer in a comment, I try to do a video, and hopefully I can do that a little bit longer. I don't know how long I'll keep the channel going because I did interview for a couple of jobs this week. And if I do get hired and my employer has a problem with me doing YouTube videos, I probably won't do it. But it is what it is. I'll keep helping as long as I can. So in the early videos, I mentioned we did Dave's background, and very interesting guy. He was a convicted felon uh, on parole, and decided to go back to school, and eventually um, clerked one step below the Supreme Court for a judge on the Ninth Circuit, and worked at a much better firm than I did. It was one of the best firms in the country, and now he quit law, and he just works out every day and smokes pot, which sounds like a great life, honestly. So my story is a little different. I also did not uh, come by law the usual path. So I grew up in New York, and I used to work in construction with my dad. And he had a horrible accident where a staircase collapsed on a building we were working in. He fell from the sixth floor to the second floor, and he broke his back and his both his legs, and ended up couldn't work. And then I kept uh, stuff going for a little while at the construction site. And then one day, I left the building on a Friday, and 40 minutes later, the building collapsed. So, had I been inside, I would have been killed, but I did not get killed. So, um, my dad decided, hey, I don't think this is a good career for you. You should do something else. And I went to community college, and I worked a bunch of odd jobs. I worked at this place that was kind of like a Home Depot. And then I was in sales. I worked at selling consumer electronics, and all the time I was taking night classes, and eventually got my associates from community college. Went to a 4-year college, got a degree, and ended up applying to law school. And I initially wanted to get a degree in psychology, but I took the LSAT and the GRE, which you need for um, going to grad school, and I did better on the LSAT than I thought and worse on the GRE than I thought, and I ended up in law school. And then came to DC. I got a job here. I worked a couple of years doing mergers and acquisitions, and I did not like it. Uh, Everyone that I saw doing it was on their like partner level, on their second or third wife, and their first heart attack. And I thought, this is not a life for me. And I had one professor who had taught a class, and he put in a recommendation at a financial regulator, and then I got in. And then 20 years later, I was out. So as I mentioned, I early retired. Uh, Hold on, I got a message here. Okay. So there's been a lot of uh, what I think are illegal firings, and there's some good news that just happened today, or sorry, yesterday, where a judge for 6 agencies said that you have to rehire these people because they were not fired in a legal way. And he did not buy the BS line that the administration was saying, which was that OPM was not directing these firings, and that all of these agencies came up with these ideas independently. He sort of saw through that, and the person who submitted the affidavit attesting to this, he wanted him to testify. The judge wanted him to testify, and then the person withdrew their attestation, and the judge sort of raked the lawyers over the coals because he didn't believe anything they were saying. And he ordered the agencies. Unfortunately, this isn't every government agency, but these 6 agencies, and I have it here. Who were they? Uh, they are. Uh, I don't have it here, but these 6 agencies to hire back everyone, and I'm sure that will get appealed. The good news is it's going to get appealed to the Ninth Circuit, which is a very pro-consumer circuit, and it will eventually go to the Supreme Court. But it looks like a few thousand people at these 6 agencies will get their job back, and this doesn't stop uh, President Musk from having Donald Trump do these crazy things that he's trying to do at other agencies. But just a reminder that uh, there's hope out there. It's the courts take time, but they do work. And I think if you hold on, things are going to look up. So Bobby says that he was on his work laptop, and all of a sudden his card is not recognized, and he's supposed to be employed until Friday. And this is a problem with how they're doing the layoffs, is that they're not following the correct procedure. I've heard stories where people show up to work and their badge doesn't work to get into the building, and that's how they know they're fired. And they fired people that do nuclear regulatory safety, and then have no way to get them back because they don't have access to their work email. And this, agencies didn't have their work phone numbers or things like that. People that were responsible for Ebola were fired, and Elon Musk falsely claimed that, oh, when we found that out, we hired them back, but he did not hire them back. He just said they did. So these layoffs have been very haphazard. And if you're the on the wrong end of this, um, obviously the MSRB, the Merit Systems Protection Board, um, is a help. And if you're at a agency with a union, you need to use that route first because they're very helpful. And if not, I would suggest hiring a lawyer who specializes in federal employees, and at least for an hour or two of their time, and you can walk through your situation with them, and they can let you know your options, because uh, they're not playing by the rules. So you don't want an employment lawyer who's kind of a generalist. You want one who specializes in federal employees, and there are firms like that, because I think it's 1% of the U.S. workforce, like 3 million people, are federal employees, and with 3 million people, there are lawyers who do just this. So that's who you would definitely want to reach out to. Without knowing more specifics, I can't advise you, and I can't give legal advice because I'm not an employment attorney, and I'm probably not licensed in your state, so you wouldn't want to take advice from me anyway. But I would definitely say go to a one, to your union if you're in an agency with collective bargaining. Two, go to an employment lawyer who specializes in federal employees. And even if you're not willing to hire them and litigate, pay for an hour or two of their time, and learn about your options and see if there's any part of the process that you can work yourself. And if not, you might have to hire them, and definitely find out the procedure through them for going through the Merit Systems Protection Board, because they are supposed to protect you from these random unlawful firings, like when they uh, fire people and claim it's performance related to get around the provisions which require you to only fire people for cause. And when you do get fired for this, there are time limits involved. So that's why I think even for an hour or two, if you want to sit down with a lawyer and have them explain this is what's required, and this is what the Merit Systems Protection Board is looking for, and these are the documents you should get together. So definitely do that this weekend. Start looking at names, and get somebody lined up for an hour or two, so you can find out where you stand and what your next steps are. You don't want to just wait and see what happens. You want to be proactive about this. So that's the only uh, thing that I would do if I was in your position. So as I said, there's good news on the horizon, because uh, at least for 6 agencies nationwide, this judge in California has ordered the federal government to hire them back. And I'm sure that's going to be appealed. But these are thousands of people whose lives Elon Musk tried to ruin, and they're getting their jobs back. And hopefully, we'll see other cases with other agencies where this is the same thing. So I do think Elon Musk is insane. He's a Nazi. He runs around on stage with a chainsaw, screaming, high on ketamine, throwing up Nazi salutes. And I don't want to hear that he's not a Nazi and he accidentally did the Sig Heil, because he did it twice. So even if he accidentally did a Sig Heil the first time, did he accidentally do it the second time? And if both those times were accident, then how come today he retweeted a tweet that said that Hitler wasn't responsible for killing millions of people? It was the government employees who carried that out. So I don't know. He's retweeting pro-Hitler stuff. He's running around stage high on ketamine, throwing up Nazi salutes. Is that somebody who should be in charge of determining what government policy is and who you should be fired and not? I don't think so, but apparently Donald Trump does. And talk about, oh my God, he did a used car commercial on the White House lawn. So it's bad enough that in a cabinet meeting, and Elon Musk is not a cabinet member, everyone is sitting, including Donald Trump, and Elon Musk is lording over them like Darth Vader with his black cap and black t-shirt and telling them what to do because they do whatever he wants because he's the richest guy. He had Donald Trump on the White House lawn like a used car salesman with his cue cards with the prices of the different cars, trying to sell used cars for Elon Musk because he'll do whatever Elon says. And the only one who is less of a man than Donald Trump is JD Vance. Oh my God. So there are these racist people who are working at Doge. And, but I'm not even talking about the guy who posts online as big balls. I'm talking about the two actual racists who were posting racist things. And one of them was virulent anti-Indian stuff. And JD Vance is married to a woman from India, and his kids are half Indian. And people wanted this guy fired. And in the White House, in this staged confrontation, Trump turns to JD Vance and says, like, what do you think? Should we hire him back? And JD Vance, because he is willing to do anything, including throw his wife and his kids under the bus to get ahead, said, like, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and hire them back. Where if you had a sack, if you had balls, you would have punched that guy in the mouth for saying horrible things about your wife and kids. But, you just sat there with a shit-eating grin and smiled and said, yeah, this is fine because, you were willing to sell out anyone, including your wife and kids, to get ahead. And that's who is running this country now. So JD Vance is a piece of crap. He should be ashamed that he ever wore a uniform. I'm just disgusted with the things he's done. If somebody had said horrible racist things about my wife and kids, I wouldn't sat in the same room with them, let alone smile and nod and shake their hands. It's just really repulsive. And he lies about his background. He says, oh, I came from Appalachia, from poor stock like you guys, and that's why I'm one of you, and you should vote for me. Turns out that's not true. His mother had a drug problem, and he was not raised by her. He was raised by his grandparents, and it wasn't in Appalachia. It was in Ohio, and he wasn't dirt poor. He was middle class. He actually took golf lessons when he was younger. His grandparents paid for golf lessons for him. If you grew up poor, you did not have a fucking horse, you did not take golf lessons, you are just pretending to be poor to get the poor people to vote for you so that you can get into the White House and then sell them out just the same way you sold out your wife and kids. Shame on you, JD Vance. I'm so glad that you got booed when he went to the Kennedy Center because he has no place in decent society. If he will sell out his own wife and kids and sell out his country. And, that's all I have to say about that. So end rant. But anyway, it's been a good week. It's been a great week. So I, for the past 15 years, have been fostering dogs. And I had one for a month recently. It got adopted last weekend. And we had this dog for a month, and my heart went out to this dog because the dog had been found as a stray with his brother. They both got adopted, and he got returned because he was too barky. He was a beagle, and I love beagles. I have a beagle. And this poor dog spent a year in boarding. And so I had him this past month, super affectionate, and was adopted by this really nice old lady up by the Pennsylvania border. And so very rural. And, he was a country dog. He had a little bit of trouble adapting to city life with all the barking and the cars and everything like that. But, he loved the country, and, he's going to get to live there and bark at deer all he wants. And I had him for a month. Sweet dog. Beagles are always sweet, but this one was super sweet. I would pet him, and then I would stop petting him, and he'd paw at me to keep petting him. So I was missing him, and then I found out that this woman's daughter or granddaughter set up a Instagram for the dog and put it on her phone so that this sweet old lady can take pictures of the dog and post them on Instagram, and we can follow and see how he's doing. So that was a great week. And then I think my pension, which got screwed up, might be close to getting straightened out. So I'm still not able to log into the website. Apparently, at some point, I was mailed something with a passcode that you have to use to set up an account at OPM. I never got it. I routinely get my neighbor to the left or my neighbor to the right's email, and when I return it. But this got lost somewhere and I never got it, so I'm not able to log into OPM, but hopefully it gets straightened out. But in the meantime, I did have a couple of interviews this week, so fingers crossed. And two of them, one was in for one company and one was for another one. The one that I don't think I qualify for, somebody I know is doing the hiring, so I don't know. And the one I do qualify for, it's in New York, so I don't know if that'll work with where I live, but fingers crossed. And I do think things are looking up. So for all the people that were hating me in the comments, screw you. I'm glad you got fired. You're lazy. You're stupid. If you work for the government, that's for you. So I laugh at that because if you knew anything about me, you would make those comments because if you think I'm lazy, I used to work in construction and I would lift drywall up 4 flights of stairs in the summer in 100 degrees with no air conditioning. And so if you think I'm lazy, I would like to see what your workday looks like. And, if you think I'm stupid, I did work at a law firm and I did mergers and acquisitions for big companies. I worked on the largest merger in the world, the AOL Time Warner merger. So, not lazy, not stupid. And when people comment, I'm glad they fired you. It's like, well, I didn't fire me. I quit. So there's the hat trick, learn to read, buddy. Anyway, Bobby, you are allowed to rant. So if you're making comments, you have a YouTube channel and just make your own and start ranting. There's a lot to rant about, unfortunately, these days because they are trying to destroy the world and take over and steal as much as possible as quickly as they can. And people who can't compete on their own align themselves with the government, like Elon Musk. So thankfully, Elon's stock is struggling. It's down 50% since Donald Trump got elected. And sales in Europe, like in Germany, they're down 60%. In Spain, they're down 70%. No one wants his shitty swastika cars. And I think that's what's finally going to get him out of the White House is that he's tanking his own companies and he's trying to use the government to steal. So one of his companies, SpaceX, competed for a contract with the FAA for the planes, and they lost to Verizon because their technology is shit. And Donald Trump is elected, and all of a sudden they want to take the contract that Verizon got legitimately and give it to SpaceX, which has that Starlink nonsense. And because they couldn't win the fair way, so now they're trying to steal it. And I'm not just talking out of my ass that Starlink's tech is shit. When I say I was a mergers and acquisitions lawyer, we had telecom clients. So AOL Time Warner was a client, Citizens Utilities was a client, the National Cable and Telecom Association was a client. So I know about telecom and I know about broadband and bandwidth and things like that. And I'll explain this quickly in a way that's easy to understand. So if you see photos of the LA freeway with 8 lanes on this side and 8 lanes on this side, 16 lanes, and they tell you this can go 200 miles an hour and have dozens of cars, and the top speed is 200, but a lot of the times it's 0. Or you have this railroad, and the railroad goes 60 miles an hour, but always goes 60. Nothing can stop it. So Starlink's bullshit system is like the highway. So they claim that it works really fast, except It doesn't work at all when it's raining or snowing. And if you're in a plane and you're coming in on a clear day and you can see the runway, Starlink works great. If it's raining or snowing, when you most need it, Starlink does not work. And that's not something you should have on a plane. It is shit. And it is dangerous and it's going to get people killed. So, what you want is not to be able to download a movie in the airplane. What you want is something that works when it's raining, when it's snowing, when the plane's in trouble, no matter what. And Starlink doesn't do that. So, yeah. And I agree that they couldn't do our job for one day. You know, the government lawyers and other people I worked with were very hardworking, and they weren't in it for the money. I took a 40% pay cut to work for the government, and part of that was, you know, it was quality of life because I didn't like working on transactions till 2 in the morning, then going to bed and having to be there at 9 a.m. the next morning, and you know, get an ulcer and die. That wasn't for me. So this was an opportunity to do work, and that was interesting. That helped people because you know the stuff I was involved with, you know, putting out fraud, you know, Ponzi schemes, people ripping off old people, things like that. I enjoyed doing that, and I thought I was doing good work. And the other people I did it were also, you know, not in it for the money. And so for this grifter to be firing people and stealing money to give himself contracts is kind of offensive to me, not only professionally, but personally. So I'm glad I left when I did, you know, just like when I left the building 40 minutes before it collapsed, the fact that I got to take the Vera and it was effective January 1st was great because it meant that I do not have to serve under a fascist takeover attempt. And, you know, I don't want to be one of the people that supports that in any way. So I'm glad I got to leave when I did. And I can post what I want and insult these people and shame them the way they deserve to be shamed and not worry about losing my job because I already lost my job. I don't have it. So I'm fine with that. And, you know, if you can't say F you to these people because you're worried about losing your job, I'll say it for you. F Elon. You know, if you want to do Nazi salutes, that's on you. But it's not something that we should tolerate in our government. But anyway, that's my rant. That's another rant. I should charge for these because there's so many of them. But anyway, so it's been a good week. And then I don't know how this took off, but when Dave and I were doing this, we only had a couple of hundred people subscribe. And then when I started answering these questions that people had about retirement and benefits and stuff like that, then all of a sudden it got up to 1,000. So I plan to keep doing this unless I get hired someplace where they don't want me to do this. And so in the meantime, I'll do a few more videos. I have one coming up on the DSR, which is deferred service retirement. So if you take a Vera, that's great and has certain benefits, but a lot of people are getting RIFT. And if you get RIFT and you are eligible for a Vera, like you have 20 years and you're over 50, there's something else called DSR, which would give you sort of the same benefits. And there's not a lot of people talking about that. So I think I'll do a video on that and then post the links where people can sort of get some info on that. And I did post in another video. There's a book that I recommended that was $100 and it had like specifically about the law of federal employment. And it was sold out, and some person now is selling one online for $2,500, and I think that's outrageous. But I found a site that sells PDFs of it for 25, and I posted that in the previous video. So I updated also that Google Docs with the things you should do before you leave the government, like download all your SF50s and stuff like that. I uploaded that document so that it would have the link to that PDF site. So hopefully that'll help some people. Let's see some more comments. Thanks, Del. Yeah, hopefully you can get the DSR because you would get the same thing that you would under a Vera. So if you are terminated in a RIF and you have less than 20 years of service, You would get severance, and the way that generally works is 1 week for the first 10 years of that you worked in federal government, 1 week's pay, and then 2 weeks pay for the next 10 years. Assuming that you didn't refuse any reassignment or anything like that, you were just riffed, you would get that severance. The times you don't get severance is if you take a VERA or you get the DSR. So with the DSR, you would not be eligible for the severance payment, but you get all these other benefits that you would in a VERA. You would get be able to get your health insurance, take it with you in retirement, which is huge. Life insurance, which some people value, and you would get your full pension. So if you get DSR, uh, don't think of it as a tragedy. That's a great thing. Uh, so 35 years of service, yeah. So you would be under the VERA or the DSR. You would be able to get your full pension even if you're not 62. So normally you get your full pension at 62, and then you lose 5% for each year you take it early. 51, 57 is the earliest you could take it, but you would lose 25% of your pension. But if you take a VERA or a VSIP, you get the full pension when you leave. So I left at 53 and I get the full pension, no reduction. The only drawback to a VERA or DSR is that you don't get the FER supplement. So from 57 to 62, you get a additional payment from FERS until Social Security kicks in. And if you have 20 years of service, I think it's half what you would get in Social Security. So if Social Security was going to give you 20,000 a year from 57 to 62, you get 10. I think with 30,000, 35 years, you might get instead of, if you were supposed to get 20 at Social Security and then you get 10 at as a first supplement, I think with 30 years of service you would get 15. But there's a calculator, and I'll try to do a video on that and update it. But yeah, so the only disadvantage with FERS or the DSR is between 50 when you're eligible and 57 when is your normal minimum retirement age. Those years you don't get the FER supplement. So for those, you would get the full pension but no FER supplement. And then after 57 to 62, you get the FER supplement, which is not what you would get in Social Security. It's less than that, but you're getting that. And then after 62, you lose the FER supplement, but you get the Social Security payment, which is more. So good luck with that. And if you get the DSR, that's great. And I do have my documents from the VERA, and I was going to upload them and walk through the process. But there's so many people that had very specific questions they wanted answered, and where possible, I answered them in the comments. But where it was too long to answer in a comment, I did a separate video. So as I said, I'm not a employment attorney, but I am a attorney, and I have ADHD and an internet connection. So if I can help, I'm glad to. I think the people hating on me in the comments saying, "Oh, you should go to HR," you should go to an employment attorney. My agency was small, and when they offered the VERA, our HR guy was great. His name was Bob, but he was swamped. But if thousands and thousands of people are going through this, and you have a small amount of people that are in charge of onboarding and offboarding employees, they might not be able to answer all your questions. And if I saw a kid drowning in the pool, I would try to help. I wouldn't say like, "Hey, I'm not a lifeguard. I'm gonna let this kid drown because I'm not a lifeguard. I'm not a lifeguard, but I'm there." So that's how I feel about these comments and people saying I shouldn't be answering these questions. I'll answer if I can, and if not, I'll say either I don't know, or I'll direct you to where you can find the answer. So here's another comment. Let's see. Oh, you're welcome. Good luck with the VERA. I think overall I'm happy with it. I think the fact that I wasn't getting the full pension right away sort of threw me, but I am happy with the choice because now I can go do something else. I still get to keep my health insurance, and it's worked out. So I thought about leaving government sooner, but my better half has a serious health condition, and at her employer, which has done layoffs. She has better health insurance than I do, but they have done layoffs, and if I went to the private sector before that and we both got laid off at the same time, it's extremely unlikely, but the chances are not zero. And if you have somebody you love with a serious health condition, you are not willing to take chances with something like that. So when this came up, I felt like the stars lined up, and if I get to keep my health insurance forever, then she's safe, and then I can sort of look around and do something else. So good luck with your Vera. I'm sure HR at your agency is swamped. I have tried to do some videos on these things because I don't see a lot of people doing videos on this, but FedSmith, I thought, did a really good job, and they're putting a lot of good info out there. And I did come across a couple of other people that are doing retirement videos and stuff like that. And I guess there are people that have these um, places that specialize in this, and they want to charge you for consulting and counseling and whatever. Which that's why I've avoided putting those up, because I feel like I don't want to refer people to places where they're trying to make money off you. But some of the info they provided is good, and I'm thinking just to link to some of those videos, or recommend those resources also, just to let people decide for themselves if they want to use that firm as a consultant or just take advantage of the free info. But I'll add those to the Google Doc with the recommended resources. And if anyone has any suggestions on future videos, or things you want answered, just let me know. I'm an open book, and since I don't work in the government, I not have to worry about insulting or offending people. And I will say that, with all the talk about fraud and corruption and whatever, the biggest fraud that you ever see at any agency, including my own, has always been with the higher ups, the people that are appointed by the president. And that is true whether it's in a red administration or a blue administration. And if you remember, in the previous Trump White House, he was having the private plane land in his golf course, by his golf course in Scotland, so that the staff of Air Force One would have to stay at his hotel and give him money. And he owned a hotel in DC that foreign dignitaries had to stay there to meet with him. And if that's not corruption, I don't know what is. And if you're going to fire probationary employees at the Department of Veterans Affairs who are trying to keep veterans from killing themselves, they literally fired people from the suicide hotline. I think that's really low. And especially with the grifting that went on at the higher levels. So if you remember in the previous Trump administration, you had Ben Carson redecorating his office, and really extravagantly, like one chair, I think was like $5,000 for one chair, and he wanted the whole thing redecorated like the Palace of Versailles, and that's your tax dollars that are paying for that. And if you want to start with fraud and corruption, once you start with Tesla taking a contract for $400 worth of electric trucks and changing it to 400 million and backdating it to make it look like it was signed earlier, if that's not theft and graft, I don't know what is. And as I said, whenever I've seen waste, fraud, and abuse at any agency, even my own, it's always been at the higher level people that were appointed by the president, not on the lower level. So I do remember one guy who was the chairman and had two economists write his paper for his PhD. And then they had to spend several weeks explaining his paper to him so that he can defend his dissertation. And he's walking around calling himself doctor now, and I'm not going to say his name, but that was a Republican. And then I'll mention a Democrat because I'm being fair. I remember a Democrat who wanted to go to Paris and had somebody on our staff think of a reason to go on these dates because she wanted to go on a shopping trip with her chief of staff. So, and these are both people that were appointed by presidents. And whenever you see that, just like you see with Elon Musk, just like you see with the guy from Road Rules who's running, or just like you see with little Marco Rubio. Whenever you see real corruption, it's always the people that are closest to the White House because they think they can do things and get away with it. It's never the rank and file that are working there, like you guys, and doing it to because you believe in public service and you believe in America. It's always the people higher up. So uh, that's yet another rant. Uh, I miss my friend Dave. We should have him here so he can rant as well. But anyway, this has gone on long enough. So thanks for joining me live. And you guys have a great weekend. And as I said, if you have any questions or future video you want to see, just leave it in the comments. And I know this is a difficult time, and a lot of you are worried about keeping your jobs and stuff like that. And you've seen people unfairly fired. And I think a lot of this stuff will get reversed and justice will be done, and it will work itself through the courts and things will get righted eventually. But when you're in the middle of it, it's scary. And, the best thing you can do is just keep going. I think they want to make it uncomfortable and unpleasant so that you quit on your own. But if that's what they want, don't give it to them. If you have a reason you want to quit on your own, like you found a better job, or health reasons, or the Vera makes sense to you because well, as I thought, you get to keep your pension in retirement and you can go do some, then if that's the reason you're leaving, fine. But don't leave because they chase you out. Dig your heels in and throw sand into the machine and slow it down so that justice can work its magic. So I'm rooting for you guys. I do get text messages from people I work with, and I hear the morale is terrible there. And let me see if I can find something. So I don't have it here, but when I was a director briefly, my team them all these challenge coins, and it was a picture of a dumpster fire, and it said the strongest steel is forged in the fire of a dumpster. And a couple of weeks ago, I got a text from one of the people I worked with, and he said, he was moving stuff out of his desk and throwing it out because we're moving to a different location. And he said he came across that coin, and that it got him through that week because of all the bullshit, and he just remembered that. So just remember, the strongest steel is forged in the fire of a dumpster. And if there's anything that this administration is, it's a dumpster fire. And this is going to make you stronger. Don't quit. That's what they want. Don't give them what they want. Just hang in there. You were there before they got there. You'll be there after you got there. And no matter what they say about you, you're there for the right reasons. So, hold your head up. This is great work that you do. And, JFK would be proud of you. So good luck, everyone. And we'll see you next time.